the pass protection, two straight games, no sacks allowed by this offensive line. And for these quarterbacks to operate and have the best chance to move the offense up and down the field, that's got to be the case. And there are times when there's pressures allowed, and Kevin had an unbelievable scramble on one of those situations. But, for the most part, they've been keeping them clean. I feel like as a former quarterback, most of the time when pressure does eventually get to Kevin or Preston, a lot of it is maybe holding the ball too long or not having the opportunity to get rid of it early in some of those situations. So I think the offensive line and pass pro has been really good. I think the PFF grades have backed that up. The run game was an adventure in game 1. Game 2 is much, much better. But these quarterbacks, they've got things going in the right direction. Preston finished the Nevada game exceptionally strong. Kevin came in against Houston Christian and got a ton of time and really looked the part. Keldrick did his part, bringing a physical edge in the run game. This quarterback situation that SMU has now that the Power 4 games are here, this type of a game just builds these guys' confidences up when they're going to need it here in a big stretch.
For sure. My early games in college, my freshman year, my first meaningful playing time was against Stephen F. Austin. So this is a great opportunity for guys to go out, kind of be able to work their craft a little bit against a little bit of lower level of competition and to gain some confidence. I thought Kevin was really fun to watch. He created a ton of plays in scramble drill where he's running around, and he's able to find an open receiver or he's able to take off with his legs. The only thing I would like to see a little more of is I'd like to see him get 5 points of contact on the football, not stop running around with a little bit like a loaf of bread. But it was really fun to watch him, man. He has so much upside. That's just awesome to see. I thought Preston did a nice job of bouncing back. I think his first series kind of had everybody a little bit shaken. He threw behind the receiver on the first play, and then he airmailed one on third down where you could kind of feel everybody getting a little antsy on the sidelines and in the stands. But once he got his first completion in that second series, he got rolling. I thought he played really well overall. He threw a pair of touchdown passes, and he looked more comfortable than he did a week ago. He'll continue to be the starter, in my opinion, and Coach Lashley said it until proven otherwise. So you just have to roll with a guy that you've trusted for the last year plus to go out and get the job done. And the beauty of it is, the second that he's having an off game or he just doesn't have it that night, we're able to go to Kevin Jennings and stick him in there. And I talked to people close to Kevin on the Boulevard on Saturday, and I asked him about his mindset with all of this. And they had spoken to him on Friday night, and he said, as long as the team wins, he's happy, which is pretty much what I had anticipated. That's what we talked about in the very first episode of this, knowing that that's the kind of character that Kevin is.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I go back to, SOC coaches that I know, and I went out there in fall camp for them when they were getting ready to start the post Kevin Jennings era. And they were like, we have a lot of work to do because we just gave him the offense and said, you do what you do best. He was basically calling the plays. He was doing all these things, and he was doing it in a way that just set themselves up to win. Some games Kevin Jennings was an absolute star. You could see why he was lightly recruited by colleges and things like that. And then other games, he was able to get the balls in playmakers' hands and just move them up and down the field. And SOC, won a state championship, their first in, decades for Dallas and SOC. So, he's just calm, cool, collected. I think now that the season has started and we've gone through this off season of, all right, Preston was recovering. Kevin got the reps in the spring. They continue to compete all off season. This is just about winning games and helping this team be in the best position that it can be. And in my opinion, at least, like people always bring up, man, this rotating thing, somebody's going to get mad at some point. I think if it were to be unfair in some way, we would hear at least rumblings, and we might not say anything, but you can hear the rumblings when there's division with something like this. It's being handled pretty well, I think, on all fronts.
I agree. I think it's a very balanced deal. I think they both just have a lot of character and respect for each other and for the program. They both want what's best for the team, and at the end of the day, that's winning ball games. I think Kevin can respect that Preston has cut his teeth, being a backup, and he's finally earned a starting role, and that this is his team until proven otherwise. But I also think that Preston can respect what Kevin brings to the table. You know, he's a guy that is a raw athlete and is able to create a lot of plays. And it's never a bad thing to have a great backup quarterback. You know, you're able to, if Preston were to go down again, where that's okay, we can lean on Kevin and be fine. And on the flip side of it, as long as Preston's playing great, Kevin will be happy too.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those interesting things that I don't know how much longer rotating goes on, and I guess we could spend a whole pod like thinking about that or all the different reasons. But Preston's really strong in practice. I think Kevin is a gamer, and that's kind of where it's the hard line to walk. When you have two quarterbacks that do different things, and then they do their own different things well. You're looking for separation in different areas because it's a coach's job to get the best guys on the field. And there are certain areas where Preston does better and Kevin does better. And it's, right now it's working, and we'll see. We'll talk about it, with regard to BYU later this week. But against Houston Christian, it worked out really well. I thought both guys were efficient, especially once Preston settled in, like you said. But, Kevin had some miraculous plays. And Isaiah Smith, he met with the media on Tuesday. And I thought his explanation, he was asked about, jumping up a level. And you can kind of apply it to everything. You still got to go out there and execute. You got to play fast. You got to play smart. You got to do all those things. And there are certain games where you're going to face a higher level of competition and talent, but you still got to go out there and make plays out there. And that's what Kevin did a lot of on Saturday.
For sure. Super excited to see that.